challenge. So hi, I'm Super Chuffer. It's midnight. It's always midnight. This is right here and your left ear. It's actually 4:30 in the morning, and I'm going to try and get through this reasonably quickly. Russell Brand, following up to our previous video, is back, but he's on Rumble, and he's got some stuff to say. So this might not be an extensive body language breakdown, because I might be just a little more reactive and run through it a little bit quicker, as it's very late at night for me. So apologies if I'm talking quietly into the microphone like this. Go Russell.
Hello there, you awakening wonders. Obviously it's been an extraordinary and distressing week, and I thank you very much for your support and for questioning the information that you've been presented with.
A lot of stress, a lot of staring, a lot of swallowing, a lot of stress. Note as well that he's in a slightly different setting than he was before, and the image quality is slightly worse. So I'm feeling like some of the people behind the scenes are not working with him this time and are not helping him so much. But he might still have that auto cue in front of him, which I believe he does have, because he seems to be stare down the barrel. And it auto cue, you might see the eyes darting while they read, but I don't know. I just feel like, you know, he's so fixated on that camera, and he seems to have these words properly, or maybe he reads words and remembers them well, but we're down the barrel of the camera, we're doing this a lot, it's all very pre-planned. So again, I'm not doing a big body language analysis, but it's all very performed, pre-planned, repeated, practiced, and it's a bit of an appeal really, isn't it? But on the surface we've got that, a lot of stability being shown, but underneath we've got this, again, the fear, the anxiety, the mouth now, the dry mouth. So it's a package of things that are adding up to, you know, proper stress.
By now you're probably aware that the British government have asked big tech platforms to censor our online content, and that some online platforms have complied with that request.
Interesting. He said request and then went for a bit of a blink, because in Russell's case it's not quite that, is it? No, it's not just about the Online Safeties and Securities Bill, which I'm not going to discuss the politics of here today, although, you know, freedom of speech is quite important, and during that Nicola Bulley stuff, we saw it as a bit of a negative, what they were planning to do with that. Anyway, Russell Brand here seems to be equating his treatment and the reason he's on Rumble with the same problem that some other people have had with, you know, freedom of speech and stuff like that. It's not that though, is it? It's not that. He has got that problem, but the other problem is that sex problem, isn't it? And, you know, if you refer to my previous video about the body language, I think it sounded pretty bad for Russell on those fronts, in that he seemed to be potentially guilty of a lot of the problems. And then since I've seen that, I've watched just a little clip on the BBC News, who are trying to stitch him up, where he was celebrating the fact that he exposed himself to a receptionist. So even if just that, like, there are going to be things that are now coming out, and, you know, believe the victims, but also have an open mind and try and look for evidence, of course, you know, let's be fair and balanced, but of course believe the victims when they seem very credible. It's looking really bad for Russell, but he's just sort of equated it to this audience as he's being silenced because of a freedom of speech issue regarding politics. Fair enough.
What you may not know is that this happens in the context of the Online Safety Bill, which is a piece of UK legislation that grants...
And of course, this is on Rumble. As I pause him in a sort of surprised expression of, like, almost fear, as he launches into this political aspect. I guess there's a lot of hope and fear in him that the audience follows him on this little ride, and he's a bit worried that people might see that he's trying to take the attention that's on this one aspect and distract it onto something slightly, you know, to sort of shift things, which I'm not really happy with as a, you know, just not even doing body language here, just analysis of what he's saying, you know.
Sweeping surveillance and censorship powers, and it's a law that has already been passed. I also don't imagine you've heard of the Trusted News Initiative. Now, as is often the case when a word like trusted is used as part of an acronym to describe an unelected body, trust is the last thing you should be offering. The Trusted News Initiative is a collaboration between big tech and legacy media organisations.
So now, you see, I could agree that this political problem might sound like a problem. Absolutely. You know, this trusted, oh, they don't sound so good. We're on Rumble here, so we're playing to the audience, aren't we? But the problem here is that this is your first video back after your denial of the allegations, which has then followed on to become a bit more serious. And your first video back is on Rumble because you're not allowed on the other platforms to make any money. And you're here to announce your arrival, and you're making it very heavily political. But we have just completely danced around the reality of why people are interested in this particular video. Do continue.
To target, control, choke and shut down independent media organisation.
To do a bit of body language analysis on these fingers and hands holding up like this. Star Ray says he's trying to portray it open and honest and pure, but his hands are a barrier and a distraction. Yeah, I think that he has probably been aware that people are going to analyse him in this way and has done his best to appear like shirt open, white shirt, like the best corner of his room that he can stream from. The hands are contrived, deliberate way to just like, I think what it is it's like an impotence. It's like a fear to if I do this and this, which I'm used to doing, maybe my hands get out of control and someone reads my body language and says something. And I think, like I said at the start, I'm not going to do a heavy body language on this one because I think that he's in control of his body language to the point where it's stunted, so he doesn't use it so much. He'll do a bit of this and a bit of safe things and stare down the fucking barrel of that camera. Like, there's not going to be much to draw from it because he's very heavily trying not to reveal. So every now and then there might be a little thing, a little flash, but in the main it's going to just be fairly consistent, almost drama school performance of oratory stuff like that.
Like this one.
And robotic, yeah, because it's practiced as well. And I think his notes, his eyes do look across there. I think he is looking on an auto cue. His notes might include do this with hands so that he can repeat it. So, like, because in the past we've seen him do things that have been edited. This one's not so edited. It's almost one take, I think. If I do see any edits, I'll call them out, but at the moment it's one take. So what he tries to do is when he practices, he does the same things over and over again. In this bit, I'm doing this. In the next bit, I'll do the list. And like he then the next time he says it, he does it again, the same. So it's less, you can reveal so much body language out of it, and more it's a practice performance thing, like a theatre performance. There are still choices in that, and he does still make natural movements within it, but yeah, much more like locked down in terms of Russell's body language here.
We'll be talking about,
or deliberately contrived to give a certain feeling and impression,
that on our show on Monday on Rumble. But just to give you an idea of what the TNI is, this is a quote from one of their spokespeople. Because the actual real
so this is edited
rivalry now is not between the BBC and CNN globally, it's actually between all trusted news providers and digital platforms.
Like, what? You see, now I'm getting confused by politics that I'm actually far too late at night to be thinking about. But isn't that why we're looking here? Is it, Russell? I know that's the politics and all that, but is that really why we're here? Because I thought that you're on Rumble now because everyone else deplatformed you because of those allegations.
It's clear that these organisations collaborate in constructing narratives, whether that's around the war or the pandemic. And of course, there are other examples. Like
you and the things they've said about you. So now it's just a fake narrative, and we're not even going to address it because it's a fake narrative. And the reason I'm on Rumble is because, you know, I can't be having these fake narratives. That's a position that some people have followed you on. I don't necessarily agree with it.
And it's very clear to me that we have to be very, very cautious indeed. That's what
I agree with that. You know, I agree with that. I understand that in today's day and age, you know, people come forward and make stories and sensationalise things for a bit of money and get in the newspapers and what have you. You know, and I think Russell's case seems a bit different from that. You know, everything has its own nuances, and we should, you know, I'll be fair, we should wait. It shouldn't be the court of public opinion every time. You know, we should wait for proper judgments. But with certain things like this, like there needs to be not a knee-jerk reaction, but a safety mechanism put in place, because some of the things sound pretty bad. So we can't just have you running around just in case, can we? Like maybe a bit of a timeout is imposed in some situations. I'm trying to be kind of vague, but you know what we're talking about, and I think Russell understands as well. So I'm surprised that he's not really talking about it.
I'm asking you to follow me on Rumble. Rumble have made a clear commitment to free speech, and Rumble is the primary platform that we will be streaming from. We'll be back this Monday.
This is almost turned into, like, it's so close to doing this, isn't it? It's almost like a pleading. But again, I'm seeing that control aspect of this body language, this necessity to control.
And as usual, we'll be talking about deep state and corporate collusion, and how ordinary democracy is anathema now, how it's shut down, ignored and avoided. We'll be talking about a military-industrial complex that is able to facilitate and start wars that seem sometimes to be little more than money laundering operations. And that's with all respect to the hundreds of thousands of victims of the numerous ongoing wars in the world at the moment.
Bit of a funny bit of writing. I don't think he's got the same team writing his stuff anymore. I think he might be writing his own stuff a little bit more here. I think the team has been diminished behind the scenes. I think people have left him to his own devices a little bit, and he's trying to just keep it rolling like it looks like it's the same, but it's not quite the same, and there are some like little points where it's not, and he's trying very heavily to not let things show. Is he? He's trying not to let. It's very now. He's brought up the big stories, the big politics stories. Well, of course, we're going to be sticking to our sort of anti-news agenda, and this is almost like a supposed stalwart. I'm going to stand in front of you and be unabashed by these critics and these allegations, and I'm just going to carry on being me. And but in his eyes, you can see a sort of pleading fear that this had better work. Because if it doesn't, then like this is like last throw of the dice for a lot of these sort of people, isn't it? When you appear on Rumble, so like he's almost again a lot of fear in his eyes. I think he's trying to look honest and open and like almost like pleading and honest, but it comes across as like kind of fearful and then maybe a little bit contrived to the point of maybe a bit creepy, where someone, oh, I'm so innocent, I'm so nice, I'm so innocent. And you think, oh, actually, you're quite big when you get up close. And they're like, oh, I'm so innocent, I'm so innocent, I'm so nice. And can you just get back and stop touching me? Like, it takes on an almost creepy nature.
We'll be talking about the role of Big Pharma and how Big Pharma have been able to influence government policy around the world and how they've been able to evade due liability and necessary scrutiny.
So it's interesting because right now, today when Russell's doing this video, Big Pharma has been on the agenda, but it's not the main thing on the agenda. It's not the biggest main one, and people have talked about it and it's a thing, but it is one of the big things, isn't it? He's going for the big hitting policies here, for the big hitting, impact. But it's interesting because it almost seems to me like Russell is trying to outright go for the biggest institutions that are seen as sinister, so that any further stuff that happens, he can say, I went after Big Pharma the other day. So, the big people are behind this now. Like, if I hadn't gone after them enough in the past, and I haven't looked at his body of work recently, but maybe he's gone after all these people recently as well. But, it just feels like he's making sure everyone knows he's going against the big, big people. Like, it's a kind of subtle kind of manipulation of an aspect of a story in a way, isn't it? Like, in a way, I'm here because I'm going after Big Pharma. Or is it that you're here because you just got demonetized off YouTube because of sexual, do you know what I'm saying? Like, no, I'm here because I'm going against Big Pharma and I look like Jesus, and trust me, I'm getting a lot of believe me look as well, raise the eyebrows, looking directly in. Like, I feel this looks untrustworthy. Like, to you it might look great, it might look lovely, but to me there's a slight sinister aspect of it. It looks like a sort of almost culty, sort of creepy in a way. It's just how I'm feeling when I'm reading this, so it just is what it is.
How they've been able to avoid media investigation that perhaps ought be due them. And of course we'll be talking about media corruption and
you see how he took a big deep breath then?
Perhaps ought be due them.
And move on to the next paragraph. So he's like got this segmented in his head as like little sections, like big deep breath because we're going to deliver this next bit. Like, all very just a performance from Russell here, like as much as he can. Like, there's a little bit in the eyes, there's a little bit hidden behind the eyes and stuff like that, but really I'm not reading a lot of body language other than keeping a lot in. holding a lot back, not letting us drift in our mind to this other thing, and directing the audience and trying to maintain some sort of control over this situation.
And of course, we'll be talking about media corruption and censorship. So please follow me on Rumble, because that's the only way that we can keep our voice. You can go to rb.rumble.com to support me directly and keep me and our channel independent. And I need your support now more than ever.
I mean, you've always been independent, like, haven't you? Like, people are independent. Like, to keep me independent, do you mean that if you didn't support him in this way, he would in some way sign up to the mainstream media again to keep me independent? You mean to keep me to keep me from financial ruin? I wonder at this point whether Russell's got, like, when you live a decent lifestyle and when the money's coming in, maybe you sign up to a big mortgage and maybe you've got a thing here and a thing that, maybe suddenly having your money cut off is actually quite a problem when you've got bigger bills to pay. And who knows how big the bills can get when you've got loads of nice stuff. So the way he said to keep me,
b.rumble.com to support me directly and keep me,
to keep me like to keep me alive, sustained, financially well off, to keep me living in my house, to keep like my money, my upkeep, to keep me like, like not just to keep me talking and keep, like, you can talk all you want, like loads of people without that much money talk on Rumble, but to keep you in the lifestyle you are used to, maybe.
Follow me on Rumble, because that's the only way that we can keep our voice. You can go to rb.rumble.com to support me directly and keep me and our channel independent. And I need your support now more than ever, and more than I ever imagined I would.
He added that bit at the end himself, and more than I ever imagined I would. He needs your support more than ever. It's very beggy, isn't it? It's very beggy. I need your support. Come to Rumble. Keep me. I need it more than ever. Very begging. And it's interesting because we just looked for the last several hours. But you won't see that on this stream. This will be uploaded to Super Chuffer. But I looked at a different person recently who's moved over to Rumble, and they begged very hard when they moved over to Rumble. A lot of heavy begging. And with Russell, I'm seeing a very much similar thing, actually. He is quite worried about his financial well-being and has hit it direct. He's done his little speech about why I'm here and why these big chuffers, and I'm not going to say it directly, but and these big chuffers. And then at the end, I really need you to come here and tell everyone and give me some monies.
So follow me, support our channel if you can, if it's within your means. Within
your means. So support means financial. Support doesn't mean just come here, share it, talk. Support means financial. So now we are begging. It's incredible to see Russell Brand in this position, actually, because a lot of social media people refrain from begging and would rather that support was either more organic, or sometimes you might have a crowd fund and something you're working towards. Sometimes you might do a charity stream, but to directly ask people, come here and support me, and it means financial. So if you've got the money, give it to me. Just giving the straightforward, almost like a appeal, like you might see on Comic Relief or something for the African children. If it's within your means and you can give us a little bit, I always say I'm very grateful for the super chats and the tippies I get. If someone's got a little bit, something to share, then I'm grateful to have some, because I work quite hard on doing the content, and I'm really grateful for those works. But I didn't imagine Russell Brand would be sort of at the same level as people like me who just stream from our bedrooms. Give me, but it's maybe at a slightly lower level, because now he's dropping into sort of lolcow territory, or professional beggar territory, where he's directly asking for give me the money now because I'm in the shit. That fear in his eyes when he's talking about it as well. I actually feel from this one, all those allegations aside, right? And for Russell, he's put them aside for this video, bear in mind. So I wouldn't want to put them aside necessarily. I've made that previous React video. We've got more content to talk about with Russell in the coming weeks, because I've got to take a little break, but I'll be around. Russell is asking here for financial support after making an appeal that he's going to be here battering Big Pharma, and that's why he's here. So we all know he's been binned off YouTube. We all know why. We all know that he's got no monies coming in now, and it's turned into a direct beg. And like I said, he's put the allegations aside, because fuck that. That's one thing, but I need the monies. And it's kind of funny to see in a way. I mean, it's sad for Russell, but funny in a way, because like seeing a grown man beg on the internet, directly beg on the internet like that, is pretty, well, it's lolcow territory. Like I said, there are people on the internet that do this all the time, and the other people on the internet laugh at them and say, oh, look, you're a beggar on the e-beggar, lolcow, ha. Like, Russell's got it behind the premise of political opponent to the giant corporations, but there are a lot of people saying the same sort of things as Russell, so he's now in a marketplace on Rumble where there are lots of other people saying the same sort of stuff as him. So, you know, interesting to appeal to the viewer in this way.
But more important than any of that is that you please, if you can, stay free.
And that's the end of his message. With, I believe, a contrived piece of body language to make himself look open and honest, like we said in our chat a little bit earlier as well. Open hands here and an angry stare into the camera. Like, Russell, I thought was quite a nice chap, really. And I thought, like, you know, with all his comedic and all that, and I thought he might have done some maybe a bit seedy things that have turned a bit nasty on him. But now I'm seeing a stare that I feel like, I think Russell's got quite a nasty side to him, actually. And, you know, we were talking about it in the previous video, so I'm going to leave a lot of it for the previous video that you can go and watch again if you want. But, you know, sometimes when life is tough and you've been doing some tough things, like, you've seen a nastier side of life, and you have to, like, you know, get nasty sometimes, and you don't want everyone to see that, but it's there in you, and that's a worry considering what he's been accused of. I think that's got to be my thumbnail as well, so I might have to screenshot that for this video, take a screenshot of that. And with that, I think it's 5 o'clock in the morning for me here, and this has been a bit of a short little upload for Super Chuffer. I hope you've been interested in Russell's move to Rumble and what I've seen in it. If you've got any other further opinions on the body language, put them in the video below. I'll call this body language and react. So it's, you know, I've told you all what it's about. This is it. It's been done. Thank you, Russell. Edit, cut. You've been good, my little puckos. If you can't be good, you're naughty.